is Monday, it is a new week, and it is the first of this year's vlogs where I'm going to be introducing a little theme/challenge aspect. So let's get into it. As I said, this week I have decided I want to add a little challenge aspect because I mentioned it in the first week's vlog that the plan is kind of on weeks where I don't have much going on in my personal life and I'm not super busy, then I'm going to sort of bump up my reading because I find that slow weeks tend to be the weeks that weirdly I do less reading. I tend to read more when I've been out and about, and then in the evening when I'm tired I just read instead of doing anything else, whereas on slow days and slow weeks I tend to play more video games and then my life just disappears. It's also the start of the first week, full week without Ren being here for the year, because obviously they were here for the first sort of 2.5-3 weeks, and so it's time to get back into the rhythm of things. So we're going to talk through what is this challenge that I'm doing. Well, I've created a little spin the wheel thing where it will have all the different challenges, and I'm going to do a separate video where I'll talk through those and sort of be like, this is what I want to do to challenge myself more this year. But as it's the first one and I am aware that the first few weeks I've not been reading, I've done really well actually. I've done 3 books and 5 manga so far. And that's probably more than I did for the last 2 months of the year last year. But I still feel like I'm behind, especially with Adventure-a-thon, and so I have decided to do a pages per day challenge. I've set this at 150 pages because I took all of the days that I have currently done, divided them by the number of days. So obviously I've done 20 days so far, 21 days, so I divided it by, it was like the number divided by 21, and it worked out that I was reading about 103. And I was like, well, I could set the goal for 100, but as I'm showing that on average I am already doing that, that's not really a challenge, so I'm setting the challenge for 150. Reading plans this week. Obviously I've left my books upstairs because I'm an idiot and don't think of these things, so I'm going to go grab them. So firstly, to finish off a couple of things, it's not on this month's TBR, neither of these are. There are 5 books here and only 2 are on this month's TBR, so those swaps are going to come in handy. One that I started a couple of months ago, I did the first volume for my wholesome manga vlog, which will be releasing in the next few weeks. But now I want to finish the rest of, because it's like the first 3 volumes bound into one. So that is Orange, because it's been on my shelf since I think November, so I want to get it just cleared off and done. So that's one of the challenges this week. When I was in Edinburgh with Ren, I'll post a link to the vlog above if you are interested. I picked up Sensory Life on the Spectrum and I started reading it on my birthday, like when we were having lunch, and then since I got back I've just not sat and read it. But after having read Fern Brady's memoir last week, I now even more want to get to this, so again I want to get this done this week. I will be finishing before the coffee gets cold because I haven't picked it up since I think the 8th or the 9th of January. It's been sat at the end of the first story since then, so I need to go back and finish it. And then you will be shocked to find that there is a book that I'm going back to and have actually, well, I've read the first page, but I've started it finally after nearly 2 years now? After 1.5 years and I think 6 TBRs. This Vicious Grace by Emily Teed. I'm reading it, finally. And then the last one is Not in the Plan by Dana Hawkins. I'm about a quarter of the way through that, really enjoying it, and I think it's going to be a good start to my ARC reading for the year. Other sort of plans that I've got, I want to get my journals set up ready for next month, and I'll be obviously filming those because I really want to do more journaling videos this year. And I'm starting a new journal. I've decided to reconnect back to my pagan roots. I really want to reconnect back with nature and sort of look after my soul a bit more this year. And again, while in Scotland, I picked up this book, Slow Seasons, A Creative Guide to Reconnecting with Nature the Celtic Way by Rosie Steer. I've started reading it. Just her introduction, I was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. I feel like we're very similar. And then I started reading the first one, which is the period we are currently in, which is Imbolc. I've always been told it was Imbolc, and then this book says it's Imbolc, and you say the B, but I thought it was a silent B. So if you are pagan or Celtic, how do you pronounce it? Because I say Imbolc, but apparently it is actually Imbolc. So I'm like, oh, this is going to take a while to unlearn. But it sort of talks about seasonal celebrations of nature, seasonal celebrations you can do at home, all the ways that you can, like, it's got even a little thing for making marmalade. And yeah, it's not got loads per one, so I think I'll probably need to do a little bit of online stuff as well to pick up more ideas. But just as a start, it gives me some ideas and things to do. I also have an appointment on Wednesday that I need to attend, and my plan for that is the appointment's at 2. So my plan is to have lunch, go to my appointment, and then as long as I'm feeling okay and my body holds up, I'm going to then go to the library for a few hours and do some work at the library as part of my get out of the house and do shit plan. And also this week I need to really get cracking on some job applications, because obviously I don't want to end up being stuck in a rut like I was last year. Well, not last year, 2022. Obviously I had reasons for that, but I just don't want to fall into that kind of slump again. And I still have all the tidying and organising from Christmas and New Year and my birthday to sort. So it's going to be a busy week. I'll be in for most of it, but it's still going to be quite busy, and hopefully I'm going to get a lot of reading, a lot of journaling, and a lot of videos done. So yeah, I'm going to get started on that right now, actually, and I'll catch you in a bit. I have 7% battery, so this is very, very quick, but day one complete, and I did 176 pages. So day one, we hit the target. Whoop, whoop. Let's see if we can keep it going to day 2. It's Tuesday, I think. Yep. I have finished the second story of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I'm now starting to really see what people say about this being a heart-wrencher and emotional, because the story with the wife who is now she's a nurse, and it shows how she's gone from being a wife who happens to be a nurse to a nurse who happens to be a wife, as her husband has Alzheimer's. And it was a story revolving around that, and I did get a little bit teary-eyed earlier. I did a live today for a couple of hours. I was originally meant to be doing it for like the whole afternoon, but unfortunately lady things and my back decided to go. So I ended the sprints just now, and I'm going to take a ton of painkillers and go to either my bed or the very inviting looking sofa over there, and just kind of die for the rest of the day. And then for Sensory Life on the Spectrum, I've done about 50 pages, and I am really, really enjoying it. A lot of the stories are resonating, and I've been keeping tabs on the ones that either I really love the art style, so I want to check them out as an artist. Some of them it's what they're talking about, and I want to see if they've done any more stuff about it. And then others it's a bit of both, where I like what they're saying and I like their art. Let me put this somewhere where I'm not like hurting my arm to talk. So I've been working my way through that, and I'm making a little list of people who I want to check out their other work, or just I really like their art, so I want to follow their artwork. And it has all their social medias in the back, which I've only just noticed, which is awesome. I'm feeling so uncomfortable. I just can't get comfortable. Oh, okay. Yeah, today's not great for my body, so I need to go rest. I did stuff yesterday, and I read a lot, and I finished 2 books. And then despite how many books I bought when I was on holiday and for my birthday and Christmas, I still bought a book. So yesterday I had to go into town because I had a meeting, and so I needed to go into town for that. And I hated it because my body hated me and I was in a lot of pain. And I was tired and exhausted and just not having a good time. But on the bus on the way there, I continued reading Not in the Plan by Dana Hawkins, which is a romance debut. Follows a coffee shop owner who's all like extroverted and has tattoos and red hair and all of this, but the coffee shop is under a lot of trouble and she's at risk of losing everything. And then we have Mac, who is an author who has come back home to Seattle because she's struggling to write her next book, meets Charlie and starts to, listening to Charlie's stories of her life and things, starts to come up with the next idea for her book, which then causes trouble because obviously she then starts to write Charlie's stories into her book and is reluctant to come clean about that fact and to be open and honest. And so I continued reading that. I was on, I think, 28% when I left home, and then when I got back home I was on about 50%. Then while I was in town, I'm going to set myself a little thing that whenever I actually get out of the house and do something, just a little reward to myself is to go into the Works, where you can pick books up super cheap. And for £1.50, I did exactly that. I picked up The Problem with Perfect by Philip William Stover. This is a queer one. The reason I was attracted to this one is partly because it was queer, but also because on the surface, it kind of reminded me of a K-drama that I watched that isn't queer, but it's quite an odd one called You Are My Destiny, where you've got a set of twins, one's a boy, one's a girl. The boy sort of disappeared. I think he has to go and have surgery, but he's supposed to debut with a band. So they basically take his sister, disguise her as him, and then she starts to fall for one of the band members. And this kind of gave me a very similar premise with the whole swapping a twin out, because you've got a style icon who disappears. So to try and cover up the fact that he's disappeared, his manager's like, right, we're going to bring in his twin brother, who turns out to be very, very different to his twin, and then gets the attention. There's a romance. So having that, like, bring in a twin in to replace the other one and pretend to be the other one, kind of gave me those vibes. And I was like, okay, I know I really liked You Are My Destiny, and I've been kind of wanting to rewatch it. So I was like, I will give it a go. And it was only £1.50, like I said. So when I do something that I just really don't want to do, or I'm struggling to get out of the house, it's just a little incentive. I've discussed it before. I've always been very much, I struggle to go out if I don't have a reason. So people who just go out because they just want to go for a walk, I'm like, why? If you're not going to a place, or if you don't have a set reason, and for me, just going out and the whole thing of, oh, it's a benefit for your mental health and all of this, just doesn't mean anything to me. And I've always struggled with that. So having a little thing where it's like, well, if I go out for a walk, I can stop by and pick up a book. That is a reward for me, and therefore, and it's like, you know, go to the library, spend the day at the library. My reward for that will be to get a hot chocolate at Costa. If I want to go to explore some new areas, and I do want to go for walks. And again, I'm trying to come up with a little reward that I can do at the end of the walk, sort of like go to a shop or go for a drink or something that's my own, that I don't do very often. So it's an incentive to actually do it. And that was my incentive to go to my meeting and to not come up with a reason to not go, was to pick up a book, and it worked. So yeah, that one, God knows when I'll get to it, but it's there. And then I came home, I started to not feel great about, I think I got home at 5-ish. By 5:30, I was asleep on the sofa. My whole body crashed and I was exhausted. I woke up, I still felt like crap, so I took myself to bed at about 7, half 7. The first one that I picked up was Before the Coffee Gets Cold, because during the day before, I'd gotten quite a lot of it done, and then I'd read a tiny bit in the morning, and then I just curled up in bed. I've worked out that my string lights, if I, instead of having them drop down the side of my bookcase, if I move them across and hook, I've got a little hook on the wall near it, and it created like a nice little sort of line of lights above my head, which was perfect for reading too. So there was me and Ginty. I've got a little picture here that I'll show, and we were just curled up together while I read and she snored. And I finished it, and it went from being a book that I was really unsure about, didn't know what to think, wasn't sure I was going to enjoy, to by the end I was in tears, full on crying, and gave it 5 stars because of that emotional reaction that it gave me. There are some very unlikable characters in here. I don't like the fact that we still don't really know much about the characters, so I think that scored the lowest. That scored like a 7 or an 8, because it showed a good range of characters, but we didn't, certainly the guys that run the cafe, we didn't get a whole lot of, and I would have liked a little bit more, like explaining, like with Kazu, why she is the way she is, but maybe that'll come in futures. I will give the second book a go, but I am worried that it could get a bit repetitive. Is it going to be the same sort of 4 things over and over again? But we shall see. So my second 5-star of the year for novels, and my actual first fiction. So now I have a non-fiction, a manga, and a fiction 5-star within the first 3 weeks of January, 4 weeks of the year. So I'm very happy with that. So that one obviously got 5-star, and then I still wanted to read. So I finished the final 50% of Not in the Plan. And it kind of went pretty much how I expected it to. I do feel like things were resolved, certainly from Charlie's side. It was like Mac's dad just happens to be a contractor who just happened to be able to go through all of her stuff, and then Mac's mum was like, oh, I can fix everything for you like that, and I was a bit, It kind of just felt like, oh, that's coincidence that all of this has fallen into place within a few weeks. And obviously I know there's the whole jokey thing about lesbians moving in and falling in love within a month, but reading it, it felt weird to me. It was like, oh, I would have liked this to have been over sort of like a 2-3 month period, and really got that idea that they got to know each other before. So it still felt slightly, not too bad, but it was very slightly insta-lovey. But I resonated quite well with both characters. I have been in Charlie's position, and the things she was doing to avoid the realities of life, I have been there, done that. I struggle with anxieties the way Mac does, and the way that she puts so much pressure on herself that in some ways, yes, has been instilled, but in a lot of ways she's put on herself. I've been there, done that. And I did like the way the story was written. It was a really good book. I did enjoy it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the banter. I loved all the side characters. And like Mac's parents, can I have them please? They're just so cute. I love them. I did give it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I think it's a pretty solid debut. And if you like queer, sapphic romance, I think it's a really good one to try out. And yeah, so overall, yesterday, that came to, I have written it down, and I'm sure the journal is down here with me. I just can't remember exactly where I put it. Oh, it's right next to me. That's going to land on the cat. No, it's not. Ginty is on a cushion right by the side of me, and I thought that was about to fall on her, but it didn't. It went the other direction. So that meant yesterday I read 321 pages. And I'm not going to lie, the urge today to be like, well, I don't need to read because I did 300 pages, so that means that I have banked 150 is so strong. But the whole point of this week is the challenge is to read 150 pages every day, not read an average of 150 pages a day. It is to read 150 pages every day, and currently it is 3:45 in the afternoon. I've only been awake since 12 because I let myself have a lie because I was exhausted and migrainey last night, and I have read 0 pages. But then again, I have been doing other things. So I think today is going to have to be a manga or graphic novel day just to really quickly get those pages in, and I can get back to novel reading tomorrow. But yeah, that's where we're at currently. I don't know what's in the air or the water or me at the minute, but 3 in 2 days that I finished. Admittedly, all 3 had already been started, but before the coffee gets cold, I read, I think, 25% of. Then Not in the Plan was like 70%, and then this I had about 30% left to read. I had the final volume. But it means that I've now read all 3 of the volumes, so the complete collection 1 is now complete, and means that I can now, because rather than review them as individual volumes, I decided to wait until I'd done this entire tome. I think this one's going to be a 4 to 4.5. I like that the author really goes in deep about mental health and about suicide. And these friends all coming together to save their friend and try and prevent a horrific thing from happening and prevent him from spiraling is gorgeous. And I really like the introduction. Even though I don't like time travel, I've been finding that there's 2 books in a row now that I've read with time travel elements that I've really enjoyed. And I think it's because they've not overcomplicated things. On the whole, I was really loving this. It made me tear up on 3 different occasions, and I did not expect that. I'm slightly hormonal right now anyway, but when I first started reading it, I wasn't, and it made me tear up. And I think it's because, obviously, I've been a teenager. I've been in a very dark place. I had thoughts when I was sort of between the ages of 16 and 21. I had a lot of problems with my mental health and really, really struggled. And there were 2 occasions where I made plans. So I think as someone who's been in that position at that same age, it was hitting me. And then also seeing the way that his friends are trying to help him and support him, and I was realising I didn't have that support around me. I was doing it on my own. That kind of hit as well, because it was like, I felt for him, and it was like so much love that he was being surrounded by, and I was just so happy for him that these people are trying to help him and fight for him. And so, yeah, it hit me in a lot of feels. But like I said, I do feel like some of the characters, I would like a bit more from them and more development from them and understanding of who these characters are. Because sort of like with Neho, we kind of get the idea that she's very much someone, she always puts other people first and never thinks of herself. She is starting to get a little bit of character development right towards the end of this, where she's like, no, I'm going to stop doing that. But she is a tiny bit of a doormat. And I'm kind of like not really understanding why, like, to me, there's not really a lot of chemistry between him and Kakeru. But that's just probably me, because she's just very mild, very gentle, and we don't really see much of her personality other than her being sort of quiet, shy, and always looks after other people. And it's like, I would like to see a little bit more injection of like, what are her hobbies? What does she like to listen to for music-wise? We don't get a lot of that, and we get it from everybody else. So like I said, emotions and the topics that it talks about and the way it approaches those topics, 5 stars. But sort of the main character, like the female, and just some of the explanations of how things have happened are a bit off. So I gave that bit about sort of like a 3. But overall, I haven't put it through Core Pile just yet, but I reckon it's going to be a 4, if not a 4.5. And I definitely want to get hold of the second volume, because I need to know what happens and do they save him. So, yeah. So yeah, like I said, 3 books in 3 days. I have hit, that one I think was about 170 pages, so I have hit today's target. But my head is really bad today. I've been struggling and I'm now just so tired. So I'm going to head to bed and hopefully catch up with some more stuff tomorrow. Yesterday, so Friday, I hit my daily target. I read volume 2 of Ex-Yakuza and Stray Kitten, and that was exactly 154 pages, so I just hit my target. And I basically spent the whole day yesterday. I pulled all of my books off my bookshelf and went through them all to log them and try and I've done a spreadsheet so that basically for all of the main yearly readathons that I'm doing and read-alongs, I can just type in the search bar and it will say what prompts that book matches, so I can just make it a bit easier to track, but it is a Herculean task to do. And then this morning I got book mail that's a couple of weeks early. The publishing date wasn't until like the 7th of February. So not only did it release early, but it also was £2 cheaper than I was expecting it to be, and it's sprayed edges, which I didn't expect. But that is Infinity Alchemist by Case and Calendar. Now, I had Felix Ever After, but I didn't get around to reading it, because where I've kind of gone off YA contemporary and romance. But YA fantasy I still love, and look at these edges, how cute are they? I love it. They're like little stars and stuff. And yeah, this is Kaysen's first foray into YA fantasy, so obviously I'm still very much into fantasy and YA fantasy, so I'm really looking forward to getting to that. And then I've not read anything yet today. It's only 3:30, but had a bit of a rough night last night. My uncle wasn't very well yesterday. Unfortunately, because of my upbringing and with my mum and how ill she used to be, when someone around me gets poorly to the point that I feel, do I need to call an ambulance? I then don't sleep because of the fear that, you know, if I wake up in the morning, will they still be here? And it's a very deep thing. It's just one of those things that hasn't quite left me, and so I had a bit of a massive anxiety flare yesterday because I was like, I don't want to go to sleep in case something happens to him while I'm asleep, and then if I wake up and something's happened, there's a whole, I know I need to speak to a therapist about it. But because I didn't sleep that great, I slept in today, and then I've not been feeling great since I woke up. I've also run out of the medication that they were trialing me on for my migraines, and I've been off it for 4 days now, and my head has just been one constant pressure and pain, and I've had to take migraine tablets. So I'm like, oh, okay, I think it was working, or at least doing something. So first thing Monday, I've got to get onto the doctors and be like, please re-prescribe it for me. So yeah, it just wasn't the great night. But it means that today I've got to try and do some reading, because obviously I want to hit 150. I've started This Vicious Grace. I'm only 2 chapters in, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. I don't yet know. But I've started it, and I will probably try and read some of this. And then as my sort of not been reading it because I've been waiting for a day when I know I'm going to struggle to read a physical book, like a whole 150 pages. I still have Sensory. I think I've got about 80 pages left of that, or 90 pages, something like that. So if I struggle to pick up the physical book to read, I have this one to read. Okay, it is 11:30 on Saturday night, and today is the first day that I haven't hit my goal, and I could make myself go to bed right now and read that last 70 pages that I need to do in the next half an hour. It's doable, but I don't want to do it. Even if I don't do it tomorrow, 5 out of 7 days is still better than expected, considering I normally set myself these goals and then completely screw it up. So yeah, I'm not going to punish myself, and I'm not going to beat myself up for it. So, but I am happy because I have finished another book. I can definitely see why Ren loved this so much and gave it 5 stars. I'm not going to be giving it 5 because a lot of it resonated with me, and this, along with Strong Female Character this month, reading both back to back is just reinforcing to me I absolutely do have autism, and I'm now considering whether I should go for a diagnosis of autism as well. Although, as this book says on a couple of occasions, self-diagnosis is just as valid. So I'm like, yeah, I think it's safe to say I am actually autistic as well as ADHD. But I'm going to be giving it 4.4 or 4.5 because I really like the range of art styles. I did really like the messages, and that we were exposed to different people's experiences of autism. But I just wish, because some of these were like a page long, And I felt, unfortunately, the message was either lax or needed a little bit more. So I do wish that certain comics had been a bit longer. I definitely recommend it, especially if you are someone who thinks you might be autistic. Seeing all these different perspectives on it and understanding the behaviours again was really good. So yeah, it has helped me understand quite a bit. And like I said, it's reaffirmed the fact that I definitely identify as autistic. And then I've read 30 pages ish of This Vicious Grace. So I'm now on, I think, chapter 5 or 6. It's got an interesting start. It kind of throws you in a little bit. Like, it's very Italian based. You can tell it's got a lot of Italian cultural influences, and the lore, it's well written in, but it's also kind of doesn't give you a lot of context, and you're kind of piecing it together. So what I understand is that there was a goddess called the Dea, and there's like these demons that every so often they try to attack, and that the Dea has granted one person the blessing that basically the Fenestra, which is what our main character is, if she marries I can't remember what his name is, a Fierno? So she's the Fenestra. She needs to marry a Fonte because her power is basically to amplify someone else, and that together they will stop the forces of evil and save the town, as has been done many times before. Only her problem is that her power is so powerful that she is only 18 and has already been married 3 times and has already killed 3 husbands. Because her power is so great, it just kills them instead of amplifying them. And now there's this priest who is starting to spread hate around the town, saying that, you know, she will doom them all and that maybe she is a curse and that they should kill her in order to have the true Fenestra, Fiona, whatever it's called, take her place. And so the last chapter I got to, she woke up from, she was in her room and all of a sudden someone starts to try and kill her. So I haven't yet finished reading it. But yeah, it's like one of her guards is trying to kill her. And that's where it's all going to kick off. The vibes I'm getting so far, like the meeting that it's had of her meeting the guy that's eventually going to sort of be her bodyguard, it was quite interesting. And his attitude towards the main character is just kind of like, I really don't give a crap who you are, just get out of my way. And I also really like the dynamic between her and her twin brother, where it's like her family are supposed to have forsaken her when she became the blessed one and disown her, and she's no longer in their family, and he's like, but you're my twin sister, so I'm not going to do that. And I just like their relationship, and I think it's going to be quite cool, but we shall see. But I know this one's had a lot of really good positive thing. I've not heard lots, but what I have heard, it's been really good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, and I'm going to probably read a little bit more when I go to bed now, but I'm not going to try and rush, and I'm just going to take my time and see how much of it I can get done tomorrow. So yeah, that's today's update. I'm going to go get some sleep. Nancy. Oh, big stretch. And go give her some treats. Hi, just washed my hair, so you're just gonna have to deal. I took a really bad turn yesterday with my head, and my energy levels and things like that have just gone really bad. But it has resulted in a cluster migraine that has been going on for 3 days now. And I've not been sleeping until like 4 or 5 a.m. every morning, and then I've been waking up at like 11. And that kind of took its toll yesterday, so I ended up not reading anything. So I'm going to call it there, but I'm going to say it was a success. I said I wanted to do 150 pages every day. I did 5 out of 7 days, which I'm really happy with.
2 hours later.
Switching positions because my head exploded while I was trying to work stuff out. I've calculated, and I got 158 pages per day if I averaged it, so I'm happy. I started, soon as I started talking, she jumped up. I started and finished Yakuza Stray Kitten Volume 2. I finished before the coffee gets cold. I read about half of it. Orange, I read 2/3, so I finished that. Not in the Plan, I read 3/4. And Sensory, which is, I think I'm sat on it, I did about 2/3. So I'm very... I think I actually did finish everything that I wanted to finish. So now all I've got left is to try and just finish stuff off for January, and that means finishing this Vicious Grace. And I've still got the big bit to go. But I reckon it's the 28th or the 29th now. I've got like 2 or 3 days. I reckon I can get it done. But I won the challenge. I'm now in a lot of pain, but I won the challenge, so woo! I hope you guys enjoyed that vlog. Hopefully soon in February I'll have a few more like going out and about and doing stuff things. It's just January, the second half of January has just been very slow and sluggish, especially with 2 of my meds having run out, so my migraines are running rampant again. But I hope you enjoyed that vlog. My first challenge of the year, my first theme of the year, and I'm really happy that I did so well. Did you finish any books? Let me know what that was. And if you are currently reading anything, what are you reading and are you enjoying it? I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And until next time.